In this study, we examined the effects of fast, slow, and adaptive compression on the ability of children and adults with hearing loss to perform complex tasks. Stephanie, thank you so much for coming in.
No, you're welcome.
We really appreciate your time for our research. Until recently, manufacturers had to choose how fast or how slowly they wanted their amplitude compression speed to work. And they really had to use a philosophical decision because the research suggests that either is just as good as the other. Although there is a price that you pay for using fast or slow compression, and so it's really a choice between which one is the least objectionable. For fast-acting compression, because it works so quickly, it can distort the speech signal. Slow-acting compression doesn't do that. It has a nice, crisp, clean speech signal because it works very slowly on the signal. But the problem with slow-acting compression is that it's kind of behind the times. It's slow. What the hearing aid user hears is that after a loud sound, there's a bit of period where the hearing aids don't seem to be working. And so they will complain that hearing aids sort of drop out every time something loud happens. And so it's like the hearing aid kind of pumps in and out.
So you're going to hear a sound followed by a word, and I'd like you to tell me if that word is a person, a food, or an animal?
Ideally, what we would like is a system that combines the best of slow-acting compression and the best of fast-acting compression. And that's what has been done in adaptive compression, particularly what Oticon has designed in their SpeechGuard E. The easiest way to understand the differences in performance between the slow, fast, and adaptive compression is to listen to the stimuli and also to look at a graphic representation of them. So what it shows is the combination of the three wave files together. So here is the bird call in this particular example, and it sounds like a chicken clucking. And then buried within that, or partially buried within that, is the word lifeguard. And so the first portion is in and being masked by the bird call, whereas part of that word is not being masked, and that's what the listener needs to hear in order to make a judgment. Now, when it's processed by slow compression, the waveform shows that the bird call, the amplitude of the bird call is reduced, which is what we want to see. That makes it comfortable for the hearing aid user. Because the slow compression takes its time to get back up to an amplitude that's appropriate amplification, we see that the overall increase in the amplification over time, and you can hear it in the signal. With fast compression, we see a similar effect on the bird call. It reduces the amplitude there to make it comfortable, but it also it gets back to its original amplification very quickly, so it's louder overall, but it's louder because it's amplifying some of that background noise, and that's what makes it a little bit more difficult to pull the word out of the noise. And so you'll hear this as a little bit louder and a little bit noisier. When it's processed with adaptive compression, you see similar effects. The amplitude of the bird call is reduced, but what you'll hear is a cleaner, clearer signal for the portion that is not being masked by the environmental sound. And when you put all three of them together on the same graph, what you see is that there's very little differences here, but there is a bit more of a clear difference between the adaptive compression and the other two, and those little differences actually make large differences in their performance.
Food. Animal. Don't know. Person.
When the best of both the slow and the fast compression characteristics were put together in the adaptive system, the performance of both groups increased significantly, and they both received the same amount of benefit. So although these bars look a little bit different, they are statistically the same, and so both groups benefited from the adaptive compression. Our overall conclusions from this study was that the adaptive compression parameters have real potential to benefit children and adults who are in dynamic, active listening environments. But anyone who is in a more quiet and stable environment would still receive benefit from an adaptive compression.
All right, you're all finished. You did a great job. Thank you so much for
These results suggest to us that in systems like the SpeechGuard E that have an adaptive compression that takes the best of both fast and slow compression parameters and combines it into one system, that those children and adults in dynamic listening environments are likely to benefit greatly from that kind of an amplification system. Well, anyone interested in learning more about the details of this study can read the published article in the Journal of the American Academy of Audiology.